Brett here. Hey, this is a minimum protocol, just a simple thing you can do on a regular basis that will, in the moment, calm things down a little bit. If you do it over time, it'll turn down your nervous system, which here's the bonus, it's going to turn down your inner critic a little bit. I'm doing the minimum right here. This is it, shaking. Now, there's lots of ways to shake. The important thing is that you shake. That's the important thing. Make sure you don't hurt. Make sure you don't hurt your joints. But I will move it around. So, for example, I'll do something like this with my arms if I want to change where I'm shaking. So, but just play with it. There's no right way to shake other than don't hurt yourself. There are lots of complicated ways to shake. Try them, but at the end of the day, just shake. That's the first thing. If that's all you do, great. Now, I could talk about breath work, but forget breath work. I'm going to show you something else, and I'm just going to demonstrate. So here we go. I'm going to take an inhale, and then I'm going to simply hum. But because I'm bumping, it's going to interact with my diaphragm, and I'm going to be doing some vagus nerve work at the same time. So here we go. And I'm going to really let my throat, you might hear some wobbling, and that's actually relaxing my throat. If you start doing this, you might not notice that wobble until your neck loosens up, but you're really loosening the fascial material throughout your whole body, and the wobble comes from the bone. So here we go. Now, as a side effect, that extends your breath, which is going to increase your CO2, which is going to be really good for you as well. So that combination is a powerful combination. That's it. That's the message. Now I'm going to keep talking and doing some stuff, but you can go. You don't need to do anything else. But seriously, honestly, just do that. I mean, right now, I've got heat being released here. I've been doing this for a little while already. That much is not normally enough. 10 minutes, you'll start to notice some big differences. 20, 30 minutes, you'll sleep better. It'll help pump your lymphatic system. I sleep for 4 to 6 hours instead of 1.5 hours to have to get up and go pee, because it takes the liquids out of my liquid that's been accumulating in my legs throughout the day and redistributes it into the tissues, et cetera, et cetera. It helps your vagus nerve. So many good things. So just do it. And by the way, if you don't like to meditate, this counts as meditation. Personal experience, 100%. It absolutely is the same effect. A couple of warnings, since I should have said those earlier, but since I haven't been recording for a while, I'm being a little sloppy. If you get dizzy, stop. If you start to notice any kind of tensing up, stop. If you notice like a stabby pain, like I can point to where there's pain, stop. Now, when you stop slowly, because if you're starting to get nervous and you stop really fast, you're making yourself more nervous. So release slowly. All right. But if you can, start doing something like this and then just let it go for a while. So, I'm engaging with my whole body. Now, over time, what I notice is my arms are initially not wobbling. It's like this is shaking and this is shaking, but it's different. And then eventually I can notice sort of a wave up my arms. Also, if I let my arms drop, I can get some more rotator cuff stuff. But just play with it. Move back, whatever. And I'm going to go back into humming for a little bit. What's up, Katie? Come here, Josh. What's up, buddy? Whew. What's up? Come here. So I'm going to take this moment with Mr. Cheshire, and I'll go ahead and get into a squat, which is a nice stretch. And I will sort of analyze my body. So I've got sweat on my forehead, actual sweat, not just like a little bit of perspiration. And I'm releasing a lot from my chest. Now, what's going on is it's called a trichothopic reset. So my visceral tissues, specifically my fascia, cartilage, which is in fascia and also other places, is dielectric. And it can get into a gel state that is slightly thick, and that's partly because of basically like a local optimization, so that if you sit all day, your body sort of takes that shape a little bit. And just bouncing up and down like that is generally sufficient to loosen it, but the humming also makes it happen much faster. And so when you feel the heat, that's just the heat. This is where heat's being released. Like right here, the lymphatic system releases a bunch of stuff. So if you notice, like if you wear a t-shirt and your neck is sweating at night, that's your lymph system just clearing stuff out. All right, so what I was going to do tonight is just some front splits. I haven't done them for a couple of days. So let's see. Am I going to do this one, or do I want to do padding? I think I'm going to do it. Am I going to do it this way? Yeah. Okay. We'll see about that. Okay. So that for protection. Do I need this up there? I do not. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do elevated front splits. I could do it on the ground as well. I started doing it elevated because my heel was injured, and my heel is still a little tender, but it's mostly healed. No pun intended. And also, it's healed from doing this basically. So notice I'm at 90 degrees. It's close. Kitcher counter works a little bit better, but this also works. So what I'm doing is I'm getting my hands so that the stickiness of the hands is allowing me to sort of allow my butt to pull my back, and so my back is extended. Now, why is this important? If you look at my forehead, which you can't see, there's my forehead, right? So on the top of from my forehead up to my scalp, down my neck, down my scapula, down the back, coming through the psoas, down the backside of the legs, to the heels, to the backside of the toes is called the superficial back line. And I am now going to vibrate my entire superficial back line. So first of all, I'm getting myself so where I'm basically stretching the superficial back line. I just had a little pop in my spine there. And now I'm going to hum. And because I've got my body so engaged, I'm going to be stimulating it. Okay, so initially I felt that in the top of my back. Then I started noticing it behind my knees, and then as I increased my tone, it slightly went down the back of my calves, and I made it to about the top of my ankles. Not quite the top of my ankles, just a little bit higher. So now I'm extending myself a little bit further. Technically, by I believe the special theory of relativity, arguably my butt is in geosynchronous orbit because it's trying to fall, but instead of falling at the exact pace of the orbit of its height, i.e., instead of being in geosynchronous orbit, the forces are aligned so that it is falling at the exact rate that it's being held. And if you were in a big old elevator box, say like the TARDIS from Doctor Who, you wouldn't be able to tell which one it is. Now, what I've been doing while I've been talking, I've been distracting myself. I've been relaxing my back leg, so now I can feel. I mean, my knees are straight, but they're not locked. But I can feel that my entire system is loaded gently, and now I'm going to go back to humming. Teeth closed works better. Lightly closed, not clamping. But try clamping if it doesn't hurt. Ooh, okay, wow. Okay, now what I did differently there, and I need to take a break from that because I've really got my back nicely stretched, is I forgot on that particular thing. you need to extend your fontanelle, because if you don't extend your, basically I'm doing a Tai Chi second bow from the perineum to the fontanelle, and in extending my spine here. In fact, I'll show you. I'll just throw it in the seated position. So I'm a little bit crouched. I'm going to extend my fontanelle, and also it forces my gravity forward. I do the same thing in Tai Chi. Wow. I wasn't doing anything there, and I'm sweating even more. And that's because that vibration, when you slightly close your jaw, you're actually vibrating the bones. Your bones are really good conductors of vibrations. So that's actually going to stimulate I believe it's going to, well, both the interstitial muscles, but I'm thinking of the skeletal muscles. That's the word I'm trying to get to. And so I'm getting that conductance. If I get everything engaged, that conductance carries throughout the whole body by having the ligaments engaged and things in alignment. And so then I'm using the sound to literally shake myself from the inside. And I've managed to get my calves to release doing that. It's truly an amazing combination. I mean, to be fair, I've spent years actually stretching so I could do stuff like I'm doing. So I think it's a complementary thing, and that's why at the very beginning I was saying that it's complementary. But I don't think by itself it's sufficient. But I also think it's a magnifier, and so it's going to make whatever you're doing better. And also, it's balancing. The combination of shaking and humming is balancing. I can do it after a deep pose. I won't do it as aggressively. I'll be careful, but you can absolutely do it before, after, and sometimes, in fact, near. I'll probably do it during. Let's see. Here's a timer. Oh, one other consideration. Let me think. So I'm going to have, say, my left leg forward. That means I'm going to be working my right hip flexor. So I'm going to do a hip. Let me think. Do I want to do jackknife blaster? I'm considering two different poses. I'm going to do that. Okay. So I'm going to do a pose called jackknife blaster against the wall. I guess I will use this. This is just for cushioning. The key here is whatever leg is on the wall, now my left leg, that is the leg that is getting the stretch. That's one key. Next thing, very important, knee against the wall. I want my knee touching the floorboard. If you do that, you're protected. If you don't do it, you might hurt yourself, but knee against the wall. Now, for most people, if you sit all day and you haven't done this kind of pose, I'm already getting a really good stretch right there. In fact, if I just stood out here for a minute or two, I'd have a nice stretch already because I've done the Qigong shaking and the humming. I'm already loose. So I'm going to be working on extending my flexibility from the beginning because I did the Qigong shaking before. It's a major optimization, like in terms of efficiency. Also, it just feels good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually bring my other leg up, and then that'll allow me to sort of get my body erect. This body position has nothing to do with the pose, though. Let me show you what I'm really trying to do. First of all, I'm going to take my arm and set it down here. Okay, right here, my shoulder is the top of a hinge. Body down to the knee. Hip flexor right here is what I'm trying to relax forward. And in relaxing forward, woo, I've got the entire thigh being pulled straight up. The more I can relax and let go, the deeper the stretch. I was going to time this, but actually I don't need time. I can go by feels. When you're getting started with deep flexibility, time is absolutely important because you're training your nervous system and also you're changing your muscle fibers and you're changing everything slowly over time. So use a clock, beat your times, meter beat your times, work 2 to 5 minutes. Now, that is the base rule. Do 5-10 minutes of shaking. You can do probably 1 to 5 minutes, and you'll notice at 5 minutes a big difference compared to 5 minutes without the shaking. Do 20 to 30 minutes of shaking, which is a lot, I know. You'll probably be fully relaxed. Your nervous system will be way down. And if you don't have time to do the flexibility shaking, do the shaking. If you have to pick one, default to shaking. But the deep flexibility is, if you want to expand deep flexibility, If you want to maximize where you're at, shaking. And so after a big expand, shake to inhabit. So I'm moving slightly side to side, and I'm changing the angle of the stretch to get just a little bit different engagement at different parts of the muscle. The muscle's already pretty relaxed. Okay, so that gets the thigh, but it does not get the hip flexor as well. I'll do that as well. So these are just warm-up stretches. They're completely optional, but I'm doing some targeted stuff just so when I go into the big stretch, certain things will have already been addressed. And realistically, I just feel like doing it. I don't have a particular reason other than I just like doing them. And frankly, that's good enough reason. The fact that I feel better, that I don't have pain every day, that's just a bonus. Hey, Chesh, come on back. Hey, buddy. Now, if you do have pets and you're doing deep flexor poses, I would strongly discourage you from doing what I'm doing until you're very familiar with a given pose. I've got this for support. I'm not losing this pose at all right now while I'm petting the kitty. And in fact, petting your pets is parasympathetic dominant. This activity is parasympathetic dominant. So this is actually complementary so long as, like, for example, if he bumps into me when I'm in a front splits or side splits, I don't want that. But this pose is completely fine the way I'm doing it. If I was self-supporting, I might be a little more worried about it. But this thing, it can slide a little bit, but I've got my weight straight down, so I'm very stable right now. Whew, and yeah, that leg is nicely stretched as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, now that I've got here the thighs, and another way, by the way, I could have done that. That was an asymmetrical pose. This will give me a similar result. Then I can spread my feet and rest back. And actually, I'm wondering, so interestingly, let me take this off for now. For this pose, my challenge lately is actually with the superficial back line, specifically the arches of my feet get tight. So if I take my time here for a minute or two, I'll bet you. And this is getting a good stretch. Also, this is getting a little bit of hamstring, but still mostly thighs. We'll get the hamstring. I'm sorry, I said hamstrings. I meant hip flexors, my bad. Okay. It's funny that I'm being limited by arches of my feet, not by my back at all right now. Now, at some point, my back is going to start to say something, but let's see. I don't have enough padding for the top of my feet when I'm putting this much pressure on them. I'll wait here for a bit. Not quite ready to go all the way down. Oh boy. That's a bit much for the feet. Not my back is pretty fine. There we go. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna come back up. So occurs to me, I was like, that's so much harder than the last time I did it. Well, the last time I did it on a futon mattress, a little more padding. So don't encourage you to do that on carpet. That was a bit much. Okay, coming back out. Here's another secret. When you put yourself into extreme discomfort for a few minutes, if you come out really slowly, you trick your biological system. So you put yourself under deep discomfort, like you're really holding something. And normally what would happen is you just let go. And that's great. If you need to do it, do it. But if you're in a deep flexibility pose, given what you're doing to your muscles, it has lots of advantages to come back like 1%, pause, and then come out. Um, just do it. I can tell you why, but just do it. Oh, if you want to pump your vagus nerve and lower your noise floor and increase your capacity volumetrically instead of linearly, just do it. But I'm just some kook on the internet. What the hell do I know? Okay, I was going to do hip flexors, so let's do hip flexors. I probably don't need these. So this is a pose called frog pose, and it can be dangerous on your knees. So if I try to open my hips like this, my groin, you can get into trouble, but I have not got any pressure on my kneecaps at all. That's the thing. I'm not putting anything on my kneecaps. This is all on the meat of the thigh. But what I'm really worrying about is I'm trying to sit back into my hips. And right there, ooh, I'm sitting into my hip flexors. Right here, I'm getting them nicely engaged. And the nice thing is, if I just sit into them and wait a few moments, they'll relax. In fact, they're already starting to, though there's still a little bit of tenderness. They have different places where they're tender, and so they slowly give out. Got to make a slight adjustment. I'm getting a mild hot spot on my right knee. You got to be really careful. In fact, you know what I'm going to go ahead and do? I don't like to do reps, but in fact, I'm not going to mess with my knee. I'm going to actually come all the way out very slowly. I'm going to give myself some padding. I'm going to go back in. I'd rather eat crow than injure my knee. And besides, reps aren't the worst thing in the world. I've still already made some progress on that pose. Since I'm already out of the pose, I guess I'll show you. You know what? I'm just going to do the poses. No one's watching these videos. I just want to stretch. So I predict that if I listen to this transcript using Gemini or some other AI tool, that it'll tell me, oh, it was smart of you to MU what you were doing there. And now I'm doing an observation of a predicted observation by an AI, which as a mirror reflection of what I'm doing. The thing is, other than the fact that I've now made an observation of the observation and a prediction of a future observation by the thing that's going to be doing the observing, I have no idea how much that's going to actually affect the space-time continuum at this point. Actually, in fact, it's not how much, because it'll be a fractal. The question is, how will the fractal reflect? Ooh, that's nice. Now things are loosening up nicely right over here. In fact, surprisingly, yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's see. I'm going to sneak back into this now. So I came out a little bit and took my legs a little bit wider. And now, oh yeah, now I'm definitely hitting the psoas muscle. it's starting to release right here. I can feel it. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's nice. If you want an example of turning the impossible into the mundane, deep flexibility is a great example of that, because you can go from constant pain, like me, to, if you have any pain at all, it's a signal that you did something, because you have so little pain that you can really pay attention to anything that does happen. The feeling of the stretch is like the TARDIS in Doctor Who, because it feels bigger on the inside than if you were to look at the camera. Okay, at this point, I'm putting a little too much pressure into the palms of my hands, and I'm going to get a bruise if I'm not careful, because I'm turning my whole nervous system down. And so I got to be really careful of what signals I ignore, or ignore is the wrong word. I got to pay attention to signal. You got to pay attention to your body in a different way when you're doing this kind of stuff. Okay, now I'm into the adductors. The add to the middle, add ADD. The abductors are on the outside, AB abductors. And now I'm just kind of sliding out now. I'm done with the pose. So now I'm sort of moving through. And then I'm going to get myself out of this pose very slowly. Now, I don't want to use the muscles that I just stretched. So I'm actually lifting my body with my arm and then allowing gravity to sort of let the legs come back in. Now, you don't have to do this. I started doing this practice mostly, started this style of release mostly because I'm old and my muscles are sore. And a lot of times I really stretch the heck out of things and I got to be careful. And those are all good reasons and those are all true. And by actually measuring my HRV, I was able to see that when I do something really deep and I come out, the vagus nerve goes and just jacks up your RMSSD, might drop your DFA alpha 1, and it might do, et cetera. You can get co-activation or dual activation, whatever it's called. That is, the HF signal and the LF signal are both going up, sympathetic, parasympathetic, dominant in alignment. So the way to do that is you go into discomfort, hold, 5 minutes, whatever, come out 1%, wait. Because what normally happens is you come out, there's a shock. And so the vagus nerve, noticing your discomforts, it says ready. And as soon as it has a space, it goes and it releases something. But what you do consciously, you say, come back a little bit. You get the surge because the vagus nerve doesn't know any better. And so you get that healing. And IGF, for real, hormones, good, healing. Over time, it'll also increase your vagal tone. You come out slowly, because what you're basically doing is you're taking advantage of your body's natural expected response to how you normally get out of discomfort, which is fast, and you're using it to your advantage. Works like a charm. This is the new Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers, except it's about body anatomy and how things work. Now, I'm just going to amble on for a bit because I'm now going to a deep pose, so I'm going to use the ambling to continue to distract myself. This time I'm going to time because I'm curious what that does. Okay, I'm going to do the left leg first because I'm already set up to do so. This leg can slide back. I've already stretched my hamstrings, stretched my calf. I've opened up my groin a little bit, though for what I'm doing, the way I open my groin is not really that important. Different muscles. Not entirely different, but symmetrical versus asymmetrical. I don't need this up here at all, actually. Alrighty. Here we go. Here's my superficial back line, making my arch go ow on my right side. So I'm just going to turn my toes under to relieve that. Okay, now I'm doing an empty movement here. I want to get a pillow under my right hand, but I don't want to get out of the stretch. So first of all, put my left hand down for support. I shift my weight over to my left. I'm taking the weight off the right, keeping the pose. And then I'm going to go ahead and change that. I want to do that. That's what I want for height. So empty movement so that wherever I'm stretching doesn't go through the trauma of change, and you keep your nervous system calm down. You know, it's if you can do it. Don't sweat it if you can't do it. But if you really want to practice controlled body movement, there's your make your micro adjustments like that, and you're actually improving your interoception, proprioception, motor skills. It's deliciously neurogenetic. I'm reminded of the movie The Witch, and so that deliciously moniker has been on my mind the last few days. Man, I'm really losing the pose. Well, actually, I'm not going to lose the pose. Tell you what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and flatten it out. Oh, yikes. I don't recommend doing what I just did, but that's fine. I'm already 3.5 minutes in, and I was already stretched pretty well. So, unfortunately, because of my propensity to try to be symmetrical, I will do the other side the same way. All right, here we go. Okay, now I'm going to do coming out as slowly as the timer goes off. Okay, I'm going to come out slightly. And right there, it just came out a little bit. Took the major pressure off. Come out a little bit more. And then very slowly come out based on what I can do. And now I'm going to relax the pressure on my right hip flexor. Whew. And then I'm going to, instead of moving it forward, I'm going to move my body back to it. There we go. And now, neutral. If I'd done that fast, it would have hurt. No, it didn't hurt. Yeah, it takes a long time, but guess what? There's health benefits for doing it. In fact, you might have heard the phrase no pain, no gain. I would argue that discomfort and pause is far better than no pain, no gain. Neurologically, because of the vagus nerve, you're improving your floor, which is volumetric, instead of your max, which is linear. Now, not that you shouldn't do both. Do both. But you're probably not doing the floor at all. All right, same thing, other side. And again, 3.5 minutes this side, then I'll switch. The second one on this side, it's hard to get the leg up because of the hip flexor. There we go. Okay. There we go. So in that adjustment, the edge of this was just a little bit too far forward. In fact, it still is just a touch. There we go. And it was hitting the skin just barely in a way that over time is going to leave a bruise. And so preemptively adjusting to avoid that. That's the thing. These are really powerful tools, but like if you're using a sharp knife, know how to cut. And I would argue this particular stretch at some point is no longer basic range of motion. But it's, instead of BROM, basic range of motion, it's Brett's range of motion, and I'm going to go for it. My basic range of motion is going to be different than your basic range of motion. My extended range of motion is going to be different as well. So my left hip flexor is really opening up. My hamstrings on my right side are doing nicely. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a slight bend on my knee. Totally fine. Totally fine. In fact, if you have a slight bend in your knee like that, it actually moves the stretch in your hamstring more into the muscle belly. And for a stretch like this, the front splits, you are probably okay to get more into the belly because the torque is gonna be wreaking havoc on your joints. So the more you can move the muscle into the belly, I'm guessing the better protected you are from doing anything to your joints. That's just an intuition. I don't know. What do you scratch me for with your toes? Stop that. Now, that was a bit of a sloppy exchange. I sort of did a bit of a hop, but I didn't lose anything. It was okay. All right, just a few more seconds. Okay. Careful. Let's see. I feel like actually protecting my leg a little bit more, so let's see. I want to do it this way. There we go. All right. Oops, nope. That's fine. I don't want to do that. I added a minute. I'm not going to do that. Okay, same thing here. Come out a little bit. I'm just going to keep coming out very slowly to avoid any sharp sensations, because I've turned down a lot of the nervous system, especially around hips and legs. And it doesn't take much to turn it back on. That's kind of its purpose. But if I can keep it in a very calm state and then just abide for a bit, it allows the body to sort of sample what's going on and get a better idea of what just happened. Okay, now. Ooh, it's awfully late. Oh well, it's fine. I'm gonna do a little more shaking and call it a night. Is this even on? That was. All right, final shaking. Now I'm very loose, very tired. Yeah, just I can tell the weight of my arms. They're very loose. Certainly my legs are good. This also, after doing all that stretching and such, I'm basically going back to reposition all the stuff that's been moved through my lymph system, replacing it with the blood flow and realigning the cartilage. All right. Okay, well, that's enough. Good night.